So I have a question for you to get started today. Have any of you ever, in this fast-paced hustle environment, questioned, when is enough enough? Because I have, and I'm going to share with you my story today. So imagine the thermostat read 33 degrees, 1 degree Celsius. I vividly remember being 9 years old, having no heat, no food in the fridge, and my dad's truck had just been repossessed. No matter how hard he tried, we kept falling behind. We lost everything. As a kid, I watched all of this unfold, and I felt the weight of it on my small shoulders. One day I said to my mom, I'll make sure our family never suffers again. I will find a way to be successful. That's become my fuel. That promise became my fuel. It powered me through college. It lifted me past every setback and carried me up the ladder, one promotion after another. I kept climbing, succeeding by every metric, but then last year, everything came crashing down. I was at home in bed working when I started having another asthma attack. My pulse, my oxygen, everything started dropping. Well, except my productivity. I would never let that go down. At the time, I was heading a business division at a Fortune 500 company going through a major reorganization. I was responsible for the livelihoods of close to 1,000 people, not to mention my 3 children at home. But my asthma kept getting worse, and my inhaler and all the medications stopped working. I called a friend who was a nurse, and she stated my reality. If you don't go to the hospital right now, your children are going to watch you being rolled away on a gurney to a place way worse than the ER. I was rushed to the hospital. Doctors thought I had a severe blood infection. They tested me for pneumonia, internal bleeding, kidney function, autoimmune disease, and leukemia. No one could figure out why I was so sick, and that was really freaking me out. That's nothing compared to what happened next. Imagine struggling to breathe with extreme fogginess, but when you try to tell the doctor, you not only can't speak the words, you can't recall them. Instantly, I lost the ability to communicate. And there was my husband, panic-stricken, trying to convey to the doctors what I was trying to say. Before this hospital visit, I could rattle off every important number from last quarter. But at this very moment, I couldn't even tell you my address. Something terrifying was happening to my mind. How could I function like this? Was this how I was going to spend the rest of my life? Death felt less scary. I'm a numbers person, and during this period, I had 2 sets of numbers telling me very different things. At my job, I showed numbers of success, hundreds of millions of dollars in a P&L, and 6 successful company-wide reorganizations. However, 6 was also the number of times I had been in the ER last year alone. My weekly, sometimes daily blood tests and checkups concerning my health were showing a terrible decline. My physician pled and warned me, if you don't stop working like this, it will kill you. Then leaving the hospital one night, my husband, who was frustrated and really needed to get through to me, said, Erika, when is enough enough? And I stopped, I thought about it, and I didn't know what was enough or when was enough. But maybe there's a way to figure it out, and you could catch yourself before you get to the terrifying place I did, or worse. I've created a blueprint that answers when is enough enough. It starts with 3 simple yet powerful questions. The first is, what is my body telling me? Our bodies are designed to signal when something's wrong, when we're hungry, tired, in pain, or sick. But how often do we push past these signs, push through our discomfort, and keep going? For me, this was a habit, almost like second nature. And why wouldn't it be? We get rewarded for it. Study all night, honor roll. Never take a sick day, employee of the year. Outwork everybody else, get promoted. This mindset of pushing through, the hustle mindset, is so ingrained in us that when it was time for me to stop and listen to my body, it felt like laziness and failure. This was my way of life. The body whispers, but when ignored, it begins to scream. And when I didn't listen for far too long, I ended up in the ER. Here's the thing. Ignoring these signals comes at a cost. The research from the American Institute of Stress shows that 77% of people experience physical symptoms from stress, but only a fraction address them before they escalate. A fraction. The Associations of Psychological Science states interoception, the brain's ability to interpret signals from the body, is a key factor in managing our emotions, making decisions, and responding to stress. Yet we've trained ourselves to override it and just push through. Your heart races, your shoulders tense, and your gut churns. But instead of listening, we plow ahead. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Anybody else can relate with this? And yet our gut instinct literally, quite literally, is often our best guide. The well-known hospital in the Americas, the Cleveland Clinic, estimates the gut contains 500 million neurons and communicates directly with the brain through the vagus nerve. This connection is so strong that our reactions often predict stress and danger before we're even consciously aware of them. For me, the turning point came when my health was at its absolute lowest. I had to relearn to listen to my body the way I used to when my kids were little. When they couldn't talk, but their signals were clear. Crying meant food, a fever meant doctor, and lying down meant rest. I didn't overthink it, I just reacted. What would it look like if we started treating ourselves the way we did our children? If we listened to our bodies the way we instinctively listened to theirs? The next time you feel a signal in your body that's telling you something, pause, reflect, take action. That's what I'm learning to do now, listening to my body before everything else steals my attention. The next question is, what are my loved ones telling me? I alone cannot define enough. Every time I come up with something concrete, every time, an accomplishment, a figure, or a limit to what I can take on, I find a way pushed right past it and set a new target. Anybody else do this? It's just me. It's like an addiction. In fact, the Harvard Business Review compared the dopamine levels of achieving at high levels to a drug, where withdrawal can leave one anxious or depressed. This is why we need the inputs of our loved ones the most. If I can't sense where my limits are, my family and my friends can. One day I came home from a work trip, and my 11-year-old, the ultimate mama's boy, acted like I didn't even exist. He didn't feel like he was a priority to me. It was so painful. But like a mirror, he was reflecting back to me that he was hurting. He wasn't getting enough from me. As brutal as they are, these are the moments that help me find my limits. Research out of UC Berkeley proves that strong relationships are as important to physical health as diet and exercise. But now my kids are older, and they have all the words, sometimes way too many words. But the beauty of that is that they've also gotten very good at telling me what they think I need. Mom, maybe it's time for a break. I have a longtime friend who once told me, if you never made another sale in your entire life, I'm a seller, if you haven't figured that out, you never made another sale your entire life, you would still have value. But I didn't believe him. This has always been my struggle. I've never felt like enough. So I pushed back and I told him I was going to hit my targets. But then he pushed back harder. He needed me to know that I had value just by being me. I have value. I love those 3 words. Say them with me. I have value. I didn't realize it then, but he was telling me I was enough. Who are the mirrors in your life, and are you open to them? The people that can reflect back to you what you can't or won't see for yourself. So the third and last important question I have to ask myself is, what are the numbers telling me? I train salespeople to live and die by their numbers, but in reality, we all live and die by our numbers. That is how I've measured success, however, my entire career. And don't get me wrong, I love the work I do. I thrive on setting ambitious goals and achieving them. But again, we all live and die by our numbers. But there is another number that truly matters, the one that reflects how present and connected we are to the people and moments that matter. For every one of us, there's a finite amount of time in a day and on this planet. Think back to the last time you were with your loved ones. How are you spending that time? I want you to count the memories in your mind, just really quick. But here's the catch. You can't count the amount of times you were buried in your phone, like so many of us do, or your mind was on something else. How present were you? If you had to put a number or a percentage on it, what would it be? Can you live with that number? And the bigger question is, can you die with it? I calculated that number for this year, for me, and I only made it to 68% of all of my major family events. For a really and highly ambitious person like myself, 68% doesn't sound too great. But here is what I've done. At those events, I'm 100% present with the people I love, body, mind, and spirit. No distractions, no divided attention, just presence. Throughout the last year, I've learned that numbers do matter, but they're not the only metric of success. They tell one story, but the deeper truth lies in how we live those numbers, how deeply we connect with the people and the moments that matter. Moments like being here with you. Now I ask you, when is enough enough? What is your body whispering or screaming for you to hear? What truths are your loved ones reflecting back to you? And if you had to put a number on it, how present have you been? Would you be proud of that number? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much we've done, but how deeply you've lived and the impact you've made. So I'll leave you with this. Success isn't about having it all. It's about knowing what truly matters and showing up for it, fully and unapologetically. That, you see, is more than enough. Thank you.